So Slasher is a killer that I'd say is in need of a rework. And I came up with this rework idea. And I would just like to say my rework idea. It's probably going to be very overpowered or very underpowered. I doubt this would be balanced at all, but I don't know.
Is anyone even watching this?
So first the M1 changes. The M1 now has a 2.2 second cooldown with 1 stud more length and half a stud more width in each direction. So overall, 1 stud more length, 1 stud more width. A new passive. I love giving characters passives. It's amazing. So, this passive would make it where for every survivor Slasher kills, cooldowns are reduced by 5%. During the last 30 seconds of the game, or 45 seconds in LMS, the effect is increased by 15% automatically. During LMS, the effect will always give you the 35% that you would have if you killed 7 survivors, even if you didn't kill 7 survivors. Like, no matter what in LMS, you're getting the same boost as if it was a 8-player lobby that you... B-Head now has a 24-second cooldown, gives speed 1 for 2 seconds upon landing, and slowness 2 for 1 second upon missing it. During isolation... Wait a second, I'll get to what isolation is later. But during isolation, B-Head will give you slowness 2 for 1 second on hit, and slowness 2 for 2 seconds on miss. And during isolation, it gives helpless for 13 seconds, instead of the usual 8, I think it's usually 8. Gashing Wounds cooldown is now 37 seconds. The attack comes out quicker, and you get Exhausted 2 during the Gashing Wound animation, and it now does 35 damage. In isolation, it now does 60 damage, and you don't get exhausted during the animation, but you get slowness free for 2 seconds afterwards. So it's different. The ability is very different. I'll go over my thought process over all the changes later. But during isolation, so isolation is a new ability. It has a 150 second cooldown, which sounds like a lot, because it is. But the cooldown gets reduced by 1 second every damage you do. And that's the balancing behind this ability. You have to do damage to get it. Now, this is the things isolation does, because this is quite a lot. Isolation makes Slasher aura reveal everyone within a 45 stud terry radius. If all survivors are farther than 45 studs, reveals the nearest survivor or the lowest health survivor if the lowest health survivor is below half health. So essentially, it's good for finding low health survivors. Slasher will go invisible if he is farther away during this ability when farther away than 45 studs from the survivor. So it gives him a bit more stealth, which Slasher is like a half stealth killer, and I just want to implement that more. When Slasher is within a 45 stud radius of a survivor, Slasher gets highlighted to that survivor. Only the nearest survivor, though. Only the nearest survivor to Slasher, when they're within 45 studs, gets the highlight. Slasher's other abilities that aren't isolation will get locked. Slasher loses the ability to sprint, and Slasher's walking speed is set to 21.5. Slasher becomes immune to all damage and stuff. No plasma beams, no stuns. And this all lasts for 14 seconds. It will end early if you recast the ability, and if you recast it, then there is a instant hitbox that will appear in front of you that, if landed, some stuff will happen. If not landed, it has 2 seconds of end lag. So what happens is, immediately the survivor heals 30 health. If the survivor is over max health, then like, once the survivor is at max health, when they get the heal, it will set them to have permanent overheal for a conversion rate of 1 health to 1.5 over health. Slasher and the Survivor get their ability cooldowns reset, and Slasher and the Survivor get full stamina. Slasher and the Survivor then enter a special little mode where this will happen. So first of all, Slasher reveals the Survivor's aura for the duration of this mode. Slasher becomes fully immune to all effects from other survivors than the survivor hit by isolation. The survivor becomes fully immune to all effects by other survivors, and is also unable to see the other survivors. And Slasher gets 15.5% more duration by stuns and effects that are not affected by effect level. Like, Helpless 1 and 2 are the exact same thing. Stunned 1 and 2 are the exact same thing. Slasher gets 25% more affected by slows and effects that are affected by effect level, and they last twice as long. The mode ends after 25 seconds or the survivor dies. The cooldown does count down during this effect. So, now I'm going to talk about my thought process for this rework. So, first of all, for the M1 changes, it just makes you more consistent once you catch up. That's it. The passive is sort of makes Slasher snowball more. Slasher already kind of snowballs. You kill the supports, and then it'll just snowball into you probably winning if you have enough time. Because Sentinels without supports are not beating Slasher after the new stun immunity changes. And yeah, it just also makes LMS way easier, which LMS can be a struggle sometimes for Slasher because, you know, Slasher's really consistent, but it's also a bad thing because that means you can't really quick drop the survivalists in LMS. Behead changes are really just meant to make Behead no longer make you lose as much distance. But during isolation though, you still are getting the slowness, but it's way less, and during isolation, it gives helpless, so it gives more helpless than it always gives helpless. The raging pace changes are mainly meant to be a sort of turning it into just a more consistent ability. Because like comparing raging pace to walk speed override. Walk speed override has way more utility and does 3 less damage. It can be used for distance. It's way more consistent to land, and the only other thing is that it's less punishing. So, making Gashing Wound actually more landable just seems nice, and lowering the damage to compensate. And then Isolation just makes it like an absolute murder weapon. Isolation actually makes it pretty good.
Hello, I forgot to record this section, so the A voice will have to do. So the idea behind the exhausted during Gashing Wound is so that you can't get a free Gashing Wound on low stamina survivors and then get a chase reset that wins chase. Also, the slowness applied after winning isolation is to make it so that in isolation you can't just get a guaranteed kill from Gashing Wound, and you're encouraged to use it as a killing blow. Lastly, I need to point out that the self-applied slowness from Behead and Gashing Wound is not affected by the slowness duration/effect increase in isolation.
Now, the idea behind Isolation was to reward Slasher for getting chip damage, because a lot of the time, people can just hover around you, and if you hit them, if they're smart, they aren't at risk of getting swapped to, and Slasher getting a straight hit, this doesn't really matter that much to him. This would actually make every hit on Slasher really helpful. And then the whole idea behind the rest of it is that Slasher's really good in solo chase, so let Slasher force a solo chase. Now, what I really like about how Isolation would work though, it doesn't help Slasher out that much in a public lobby. Because making teammates unable to help the survivor just doesn't help that much in a pub. But in a competitive scene, or in a competent lobby, that will help out a lot. That's the main direction I wanted to take this rework. Shorter video, but I don't really care. This was a idea I had, so.
Also, I was thinking they would make Slasher no longer free, but cost 800 player points. Mainly because this would definitely make Slasher harder and more complicated.
If you think it would be too overpowered, too unfun, too underpowered, I guess let me know in the comments if you even care.